Hello, friends. I am Dr. Aritra Mukherjee, practicing pediatric cardiologist from Kolkata, India. Today, I'm going to talk about percutaneous salvage procedures after Glenn surgery. This is basically on cue with my previous talk, where I had talked about a small child who had acute Glenn thrombosis. So I felt that maybe I'll show some more cases where we have done percutaneous procedures after Glenn shunt. So this is a timeline for single ventricle palliation. So after diagnosis, usually we do a Glenn by 4 to 8 months, and then a Fontan by mostly 4 to 8 years. And the time between the Glenn and Fontan, most children remain fairly well. And the only reason they would enter a cath lab would be prior to the Fontan procedure. For a pre-Fontan cath, we'll go look for the PA anatomy, PA pressures, pulmonary vascular resistance, as well as sometimes do for a coil embolization of collaterals. However, there may be often strange circumstances, more so in our country, where we often have late presentations presenting at 2 years, 1.5 years, where already the peer distortion might have happened, poor or intermittent follow up, poor compliance to medications like aspirin, and some of these children may end up with some unforeseen situations, which I will be presenting some of them in the subsequent slides. So, looking at our first case, this was a 9-month-old male. Echo diagnosis was a DILV NRGA with a severe PS. We did a right pulsatile BDG. We found the intra PA pressures to be slightly on the higher side of 16 millimeter of mercury. Normally, as a protocol in a hospital, we don't go for a PA interruption unless the PA pressures are more than 18. On follow-up of at 2 months, however, the child was, although the initial postoperative recovery was good, at 2 months we found that the child presented to us with some desaturation. We felt maybe it was because of increased PA pressure. We started on pulmonary vasodilators. 1 month down the line, the child did not improve. In fact, it deteriorated further. There was more desaturation, and the child came back with frank features of HVC syndrome with facial puffiness, prominent veins. So we admitted the child and we catheterized. Interestingly, the mean PA pressures, as expected because of the HVC syndrome, was quite high. It was in the range, everywhere in the Glenn circuit, it was around 21 millimeter of mercury. If you look at the ventricular injection here, we can see there is almost simultaneous and almost similar opacification of both the great vessels, in spite of significant pulmonary stenosis. So this meant that there was still significant forward flow. This is also highlighted by this moving in this angio, where we can see that there is significant negative clearance in the injection in the pulmonary artery, which can only be due to the forward flow. So we felt that this is nothing but a Glenn failure secondary to excessive forward flow. So we needed to block this antegrade flow. So the question was how, with what? So we went ahead from the neckline and we crossed the pulmonary valve, pulmonary annulus. Then we put in a sheet and we then put in a 10 millimeter Amplatzer muscular VSD occluder. After putting in the device, there was a significant fall in the Glenn pressure. Remember prior to intervention, it was very high, 21. We immediately fell to 18. After 10 minutes, it further fell by another 2 to 16. And then finally, we could release the device after 15 minutes. As we can see here, now it is nicely sitting. The important thing to notice here is that we have basically put the device, as I'll just scroll it to the part which is important. Yeah, we have put, this is a muscular device with 2 discs. We could have closed it with some other device like a duct occluder 1 or a vascular plug also, but we chose this because we wanted to close it at the level of the muscular infundibulum, and we felt that a double disc device might do the trick. So we wanted to keep the device as far away from the Glenn circuit as possible. So on follow-up, this child did remarkably well. Within 48 hours, all the HVC congestion symptoms were gone, and the child could be discharged with oral aspirin and sildenafil after 6 days. Sildenafil we could stop after 3 months, and this child is awaiting Fontan and is doing well at this point. Coming to my next case, this was a 1 year, 3-month-old male. This is a late presentation. The echo diagnosis was a little more complex. This was a DORV with a remote VSD with a severe pulmonary stenosis. And interestingly, this child has an obstructive core. So that meant that the PA pressures were a little bit high. Obviously, we did a cath for this complex anatomy. So the PA mean pressures were quite high, were in the range of 18, as also the pulmonary capillary wedge. And thus the transpulmonary gradient was in the acceptable range. So we went ahead and did a Glenn with atrial seprectomy and obviously the resection of the core membrane. In the initial post-operative period as well as the first couple of follow-ups, the child did remarkably well. However, then the child was lost completely for follow-up for nearly a year. And when the child comes back after 1 year, the child is absolutely very, very blue. And the saturation is hovering around 60 to 65%. We immediately felt that there is something grossly wrong with this child. So obviously an echo evaluation was warranted, and echo showed nice flow across the gland. However, at the region of the left HVC, we could see some large venous communication which was going down, and we could not be very sure where it was doing, whether it was in the coronary sinus, whether it was in the roof of the left atrium. We were not very sure on echo. So the first thing was we felt that whether we have missed some LSVC in the previous surgery. But we went back to our previous angio, which we had done in this case because it was a complex anatomy, and we could not find any LSVC. So LSVC was not, this was not an LSVC. So it might have been some venous collateral maybe due to secondary to high gland pressures. So we took this child on the cath lab. On the table, we found the mean pressures in the gland circuit was not at all raised. It was around 10 to 11 millimeter of mercury. And angio showed something very interesting. This was a huge tortuous collateral. As you can see, this is originating almost at the proximal portion of the innominate. It's having a certain vertical course, and then there are 2 to 3 very acute tortuous turns, and it is draining in the posterior portion of the roof of the left atrium. Now, obviously, by looking at this collateral, we now know why this child is so much desaturated. There is a significant right to left shunt that is often happening through this collateral. So next thing we did was we obviously wanted to balloon occlude it. We used a 18 into 40 millimeter Tyshak balloon, and we occluded the communication for nearly 10 minutes. By that time, there was a significant improvement in saturation, which went up beyond 85%, from 65 to more than a 20% increment. Interestingly, the gland pressures did not blow up at all. It was hovering still around 11 and 12 millimeter of mercury. So we felt that we can safely occlude this communication. Next most important part was how to occlude this communication, because this was not a very easy communication to block. As you can see, there are multiple turns. We took measurements at each turn in the proximal vertical portion, in the distal portion that is more proximal, more closer to the innominate. This measured around 15. Then lower down at the turns, at the tortuous turns, it measured 17 and 18 millimeters. So we decided we'll go for the largest available LifeTech vascular plug, 24 millimeter. We initially deployed the device. This deployment, as we can see, has happened a little bit on the lower side of the communication, more towards the tortuous end. And we were not very satisfied with this position because we felt that this is not a very safe position. It's very close to the left atrium. So we recaptured the entire, device occluder and deployed the plug again, this time much more distally, more closer to the innominate. And as we can see now, after final deployment and release, this is sitting nicely. So the important thing is we achieved our desired result, but one thing was still not making sense, that why would such a big collateral open up in spite of having normal gland pressures. Sometimes collaterals do open up even with normal gland pressures, but such a big collateral was probably difficult to understand. So we went back to the underlying diagnosis. This child had an obstructive core. We felt maybe this was not a venous collateral at all. Maybe this was something else. Maybe it was a persistent levoatrial cardinal vein, which is well known in the setting of left atrial hypertension. And this might have been missed in the previous surgery and also during the cath. Now, after the gland, maybe it has started to shunt left to right. And since the child was lost to follow up over a period of 1 year, this has now become big. So we discharged this child also subsequently on aspirin and warfarin. Obviously, we had put in such a large device, such a large plug in such a small child. So we wanted to keep the baby on aspirin for 6 months. We hope that by that time, the proximal portion of the venous collateral might have organized. And then subsequently, this child has already undergone a Fontan surgery 6 months back and is doing well at this point. Coming to the last case today, this child presented relatively early at 5 months. These are a typical presentation with cyanosis in a tricuspid atresia, pulmonary atresia. This child had a small ductus which was joining the LP origin, and there was severe LP origin stenosis. Accordingly, right Glen with an LPA plus T, surgical LPA plus T was done. The initial recovery was completely uneventful. On the first follow-up at 1.5 months, the child did, we could find no issues. There was some flow turbulence at the mouth of LPA, but other than that, there was no issues. However, then the child was lost to follow and they came back after 6 months. And this time the echo did not show any flow across the LPA at all. We immediately did a CT scan, and the CT scan showed complete cutoff of the LPA distally and only a fibrous continuation. The distal LPA, however, looked decent. I don't have the CT images because of the lockdown, so pardon me for that. So we thought then what to do in this child. Obviously, we had to recruit the left lung, because otherwise this child would become a single lung Fontan candidate. So we thought whether we will go for a redo. This child at that point was only around 10 or 11 months of age. So then, going for another open heart surgery and then for future Fontan, we felt maybe we could do something in the lab. So these are some of the images, some of the angios. As we can see that the initial Glen injection is only flowing to the right lung, and an injection in the pulmonary artery showing the completely cut off left pulmonary artery with the blind end. So with a CTO wire, we felt that maybe this this blind end, this occlusion was more of a thrombotic occlusion rather than a stenotic occlusion or a fibrotic occlusion. So with that idea in mind, we used a CTO wire and we could gently thread it into distal LPA. Now we are taking another wire into distal LPA for better support. Once we had two wires in LPA, we could gradually dilate serially with 2 millimeter, 4 millimeter, 5 millimeter coronary balloon, and then subsequently with a 6 millimeter Tyshak balloon. And this is the result that we had after the initial balloon dilations. Obviously, the LPA has now opened up, but most of the flow is still going to the left lower lobe. The left upper lobe, there is significant paucities of flow still. So we tried to thread into the left upper lobar branch, and then we repeated the same procedure of serial balloon dilatation. This is a 5 into 20 millimeter coronary balloon, and this is the final injection after opening up of the left upper lobar branch. And as we can see now that the entire left lung has been now recruited well. The next question was whether we will leave it at that. It was a difficult question to answer, considering this is a single ventricle, this is a Glen circuit, whether we would want to put in a stent. But once again, there was a high chance of this, because it's already a surgical LPA plasty. There was a high chance that this LPA might once again become narrowed and may occlude again. So we decided for a stent. So we took a 8 into 20 millimeter Cook formula stent and deployed it successfully across the anastomosis, across the PA confluence into the proximal LPA. And this is the final injection after the successful deployment of the stent. Now we can see that there is a good enough flow to both the lungs. This child also did fairly well after the procedure. He was discharged on aspirin. He's still on aspirin. We did a repeat cardiac catheterization after 6 months. This is the image from that. And we can see that the flow across the stent is good enough. There is possibly some reduced flow to the left lung compared to the right, but this may be because the flow dye is more preferentially going to the right lung. But considering what we had in the initial presentation, this is a quite a desirable result. So these are some of the patients that we have done till now, our post BDG interventions and post Fontan. These are all the data that we are keeping, and hopefully in future we will be able to come up with some sort of a study. So this is my acknowledgement to Dr. Amitabh Chattopadhyay and Dr. Sanjeevan Ghosh. So the take-home messages from these presentations is patients after having BDG may end up with complications. It's not that they don't have complications. They are less common compared to a post-Fontan patient, but be aware they can also present with certain odd complications. And often percutaneous interventions can prove to be an effective bailout option. And finally, some of the patients in this series also, what we have done is we have positioned the patient upside down, and we have adjusted the fluoroscopy image so that to make it in a way that it is usable for us, and this helps us in making the entire procedure less cumbersome. Thank you very much.